It's not going to help you. You're not going to leave this world before you do tshuva. I'm telling you, I see it. I see it on you. You're not going to leave this world before you do tshuva. And that's all he said. This guy remembered what the Rebbe said, but couldn't care less. He moved to Israel and he went to a Shomer HaTzair kibbutz. That's a very, very liberal, left-wing kibbutz, very anti-religious. And he basically did all the averos in the world. He sinned anything in the book. One day, he goes swimming. There was no one on the beach except for the lifeguard. And the lifeguard was minding his own business, reading whatever he was reading, and this kid drifts away, and suddenly the lifeguard hears, "No, I'm not going to do tshuva! No, I'm not doing tshuva! I'm not doing tshuva!" And the lifeguard looks at him. Who's he talking to? There's no one around. And he looks, there's no one around. Strangest thing. But as a lifeguard, he has to do what he needs to do. So he jumps into the water, and he gets close to this kid. And, oh Hashem, Chas Shemaim, he's able to pull this kid out of the water. Oh Hashem, he gets them to the shore. The rest of the beach, he's like, swallowed a little too much water. But after a little while, oh Hashem, he's okay, and he's able to talk. And the lifeguard says, I overheard you. Who are you talking to? I'm not going to do tshuva. I'm not going to do tshuva. Who were you talking to? There was no one around. He says, oh, you heard me. Yeah. Kind of embarrassing, but you overheard me. I'll tell you. And he told him the whole story. And he told him, the Rebbe said, you're not going to leave this world before you do tshuva. So I figured, for not to do tshuva is a segula for longevity. So I decided I'm not doing tshuva. You see, I'm still here. But we have a better segula for longevity. And that is to do tshuva. And that's why we're here tonight. It's a segula for longevity. It's a segula for many, many, many good things that Hashem has to bestow on all of us. Since I know many of you, and I know that you're able to help me with this halachic case, I want to present to you a case and ask for your guidance. The esteemed judges sitting here next month, we're all going to say to each other, Shimuna Raboisai, Dayani Mumchim, esteemed judges. So we're going to present the case and ask you, what do you think? This is a special Beis Din that the Rebbitzins are also able to be involved. Only tonight. It's not recorded, right? Years ago in the city of Tveria, there was a hotel by the name of the Devora Hotel. Maybe some of you still remember. It's no longer there. So one day, before a month and a half or so before Rosh Hashanah, the hotel owner hired a Baal Tokeh. Next month it's going to be Rosh Hashanah. A lot of people are going to come over. He needs somebody to blow the shofar, and he hired somebody. The guy practiced. He came. First day of Rosh Hashanah, takes out the shofar. Nothing comes out. Not one sound. And he tries again. He actually brought two shofars with him, so he takes the second one. And he tries again, and he tries. Nothing comes out. Can't waste people's time. So the owner of the hotel says, anyone here in the crowd knows how to blow shofar? And some guy says, yes, I can do it. So he says, go ahead. He gives him a shofar, and he blew. Beautiful. Really beautiful. Ad kan Atofe Aleph. Who can guess what happened Motzei Rosh Hashanah? This happened for 2 days straight. He just couldn't do it. Who can guess what happened Motzei Rosh Hashanah? The Baal Tokeh comes to the owner and he said, we agreed, you paid me $1,000, you have to pay me. He says, excuse me? Pay you for what? You were supposed to blow the shofar. You didn't. I don't hear one sound. What am I paying you for? He says, whoa, wait a second. You think I work on Yom Tov? I don't work on Yom Tov. You're paying me for the hachana, for the preparation. And believe me, for a month and a half, every single day, 2 hours. You can ask my neighbors, they all hate me. 2 hours in the middle of the day, I'm blowing the shofar. Drives them crazy. So I did the necessary steps. I took them. It's your bad luck. Mazal chagaram. Your bad luck caused me not to be able to produce sales, but I don't work on Yom Tov. You work on? I don't work on Yom Tov. I don't work on Shabbos or Yom Tov. You pay me for the preparation. In fact, in most shuls, the custom is, since we don't work on Yomim Tovim, when you do have a chazan for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the minhag is that he's also a chazan for the slichus before Motzei Shabbos, the first slichus that we say, or he's the chazan for Motzei Yom Kippur. He does something outside the Yom Tov or outside the Shabbos, and he gets his compensation as what it's called behavla, as if it's swallowed. The compensation for what he did on Shabbos and Yom Tov is swallowed within the compensation that we give him for what is permitted to do outside Yom Tov. So it's just we had an agreement. I did what I needed to do. You have to pay. He says, "Are you kidding me? I hired a Baal Tokea. What kind of Baal Tokea are you?" Since this is a complicated halachic question, they asked me to come to 1217. This street. So you can tell me what needs to be done. Does he have to pay him or not? Who's right? What do you say? Does he have to pay or not? When you're yelling all together at me, I can't get it.
Who's Rabbi Son?
What's that?
I'm sure he's got an answer.
Rabbi say, what do you say?
He has to pay.
He has to pay. We have an agreement. I did what I needed to do. You have to pay. Anyone disagrees with what he said? Who's going to be the next brave one? Come on, it's not recorded. Don't worry. Does he have to pay or not? We're all in agreement. He has to pay.
I would say no.
You would say no.
If he didn't follow through on what he was supposed to do, then
You were supposed to blow the shofar. You didn't blow the shofar. Where should I give you $1? You want to give him anything, by the way? No rachamim there. Don't look for rachamim on this side of the table. We have a rule. You say one way, and you say the other. Who's going to be the third one, the decisive opinion? What do you say? Everybody say. We go after majority of opinions. Meanwhile, it's equal. I'm sorry? Not to pay. Not even $1. You joined the No Rachamim Club, No Mercy Club. I like that.
50-50.
Especially before Elul. I like that a lot. This question went to Maran, Arav Eliashiv, Zecher, Tzadik, Vekadosh Livrocha. The greatest of the generation passed away 12 years ago. In a week and a half, 2 weeks. And Arav Eliashiv said to the Baal Tokea, you are right. You took all the necessary steps in order to ensure you will blow shofar. But guess what? But you didn't! If you think we pay for hachana, only for preparations, so go find someone who will hire you to do the preparations at home for an hour and a half and drive your neighbors crazy, but without producing, ultimately, blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Who pays for that? The hachana is supposed to be one that yields the desired results. Without it, it's gunish, it's meaningless. And therefore, Rabbi Yosef ruled, like the No Rachamim Club over here, no compensation whatsoever. What's the connection to us? It's fascinating, fine. But I think that from here we see that hachana, preparation, without yielding the desired outcome, is meaningless. And every single year, when we come to this junction, Elul, we say, you know what? This year is going to be different. It's going to be different. We're going to change. And we do, hopefully. But then comes Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur passes, Sukkot, and then we go back, right back to where we were before. And if the hachana doesn't take us a step higher, that's not hachana that they pay for up in Shemayim. The hachana must be one that takes us this year, Mitzvah Hashem, higher than where we were before. And when next year comes, the same thing. And slowly but surely, it's one constant ascending on the higher and higher on the ladder, getting closer to Ribbon Shiloh. Otherwise, it's just like that Baal Tokea who tries and tries and tries and nothing comes out. You're not going to get compensated for that. So why is it, we talk about tshuva, we would love to do tshuva, but why is it lemaise that we don't do tshuva? I want to tell you a fascinating Gemara that appears. I'm going to connect Bavli and Yerushalmi, Bavli and Chagiga Daf Tezvav Amud Aleph, Yerushalmi and Chagiga Perek Beis Halacha Aleph. fascinating story the Gemara tells us about a Tana, one of the Tanaim, but we can't mention his name. We call him Acher, the other, the stranger, the foreigner. We don't mention his name. He's a different one. His name is Elisha ben Avuya. What happened to Elisha ben Avuya who became Acher? We don't want to mention his name. Elisha ben Avuya, I said that happened over there, went off the derech. Big time. How big? It's hard to say these words, but the Gemara says. The Gemara reports it, so I'm allowed to quote your Gemara. Elisha ben Avuya went to the Holy of Holies in Beis HaMikdash, took out a Sefer Torah, and was with a woman of ill repute. When? On a Yom Kippur that fell on a Shabbos. He used to go to the yeshiva and go to the young guys sitting and learning and say, what are you doing? What are you going to gain from that? Should become a lawyer. Should become a doctor. The Gemara says he actually used to stab and kill young Talmidei Chachamim. Hard to believe. And he did a few more things. Just to understand who Elisha ben Avuya is. His great Talmud is Reb Meir. When we see a Mishnah, and it's not recorded who the author of the Mishnah is, it's Reb Meir. So if we understand how great the Talmud is, we know who the Rebbe is. Elisha ben Avuya. One day Reb Meir, the Tana Reb Meir, is sitting and learning, he's giving a shiur to his Talmidim. Somebody comes over and says, Rebbe, your Rebbe, Elisha ben Avuya, is outside, it's Shabbos, and he's riding a horse. Reb Meir, probably for the first time in his life, closes the Gemara in the middle of the shiur, and he runs outside. Rebbe, what are you doing? You're riding a horse on Shabbos? Elisha ben Avuya responds and says, where are you coming from? I was giving a shiur to the Talmidim. What did you teach him? We were learning a pasuk in Kohelet, Perek Ches, pasuk Zayin. The pasuk says, Tov achris davar mireishisoy. The end of the matter is good, better than its beginning. So Elisha ben Avuya says to Reb Meir, so what were you explaining to the Talmidim? So Elisha ben Avuya said, I explained to them sometimes the end of the matter, Tov achris davar, is better than the beginning. You had some kids, weren't so successful. Have more kids, but later on in life. You had some students, didn't succeed. Have more students, never give up. Elisha ben Avuya looks at him and says, you don't know how to learn. That's not what your Rebbe, Rebbe Kiva, taught. You know what Rebbe Kiva explained this pasuk? Tov achris davar, the end of the matter is good, only if me from reishisoy. Only if there's continuity. Only if it was good from the beginning, then the end of the matter can be good. What's going on behind the scenes here is a secretive ping-pong dialogue between Reb Meir and Elisha. Reb Meir is saying to Reb Elisha, listen, even if the beginning of the matter is not so good, you can still come back. Sometimes the end of a thing, the end of the matter is better than the beginning. And Elisha says, no. Only if there's a straight line, then the end can be as good as the beginning. And Elisha explains, you know what happened to me? At my bris, I had a bris milah. All the greatest in the generation came to my house. And they were sitting there and learning Torah. And when they did, a fire came down from Shemaim and surrounded them. And my father got so nervous, he came over and he said, what are you doing? You're trying to burn down my house? And the sages said, no. Chas v'shalom. We're learning Torah. In essence, we are reenacting Ma'amad Har Sinai. And what happened there? In the revelation in Mount Sinai? Fire came down with the Torah. So when you learn besimcha, with intensity, fire comes down. And my father was so impressed. He was amazed. And he said, if that's the case, if such is the glory of Torah, I am consecrating my son. I'm dedicating him only for the study of Torah. But he did so for the honor of Torah, not l'shem shamayim, not for heaven's sake. And therefore, from my beginning, my father destroyed me. I don't have this continuity because my father did it for kavod, and not for the right purpose. The Meir hears this and says, wow, that's big, heavy. Your father destroyed you. Well, what about your mother? She's also partner in this. Oh, well, if you're asking, let me share with you my mother. You know, when my mother was pregnant with me, she once passed by the house of idols, Avodah Zarah, and she smelled, Gan Eden, this food from that house of Avodah Zarah. A pregnant lady wants to eat something, you have to give it to her. She wanted that thing, so they gave it to her to eat. You know what that does? Chazal tell us, we, as a nation, are separated and elevated. That is the definition of Kedusha. Kadosh means separated and elevated. And when we eat the wrong foods, it destroys you spiritually, eternally. So my mother ate it, and she destroyed my genetic makeup. You can take my DNA to the lab, you'll see. It's destroyed. The mayor says, oh, so it's nothing to do with you, right? It's your father, it's your mother. Well, you forgot someone, no? The Gemara says in Nida Daf Lamed Aleph, there are three partners in creation of man: his father, his mother, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Maybe you have something to say about the Kodesh Baruch Hu. He says, well, if you're already asking, you know, once I was riding my horse on a Yom Kippur that fell on Shabbos, in the Holy of Holies, and I heard a bas call from Shemaim, a heavenly voice emanated and said, Shuvu banim shoivivim, everybody should return, everybody can do tshuva. Chutz me'acher, except me, except Elisha ben Avuya. So what do you want from me? HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't desire my tshuva. The story continued. We paused. What do we really want from Elisha ben Avuya? He heard a bas call from Shamayim saying, you are not wanted. You're not invited. We don't want you here. So is he supposed to try and do tshuva even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself says, out! Rabbi Yankele Galinsky once explained, you know what this is like? Reuven is chasing after Shimon with a gun. And Shimon is running away. He's trying to avoid him. He's going here and to the right and to the left. He's running around and suddenly he gets to a door. And the door is closed. And there's a sign there, please don't knock between 2 and 4. 2:15. No, I guess I'll wait here an hour and 45 minutes. What are you, crazy? Break down the door. It's life and death. It's pikuach nefesh. They say to you from Shamayim, they don't want you. Break the gates of tshuva and go in. It's pikuach nefesh, Shaila. So yes, we do have a claim on Elisha ben Avuya. You heard a baskul from Shamayim. That's not enough. You have to do everything in your power to go into the gates of tshuva. So now we continue with the story. After this whole dialogue between the Meir and Elisha ben Avuya, the Meir goes back to the yeshiva. And a little later, the Gemara doesn't say how long, weeks, months, again somebody comes in when he is in the middle of giving a shir. And they say to him, you know, your Rebbe, Elisha ben Avuya, is on his deathbed. He is dying. I think you should go visit him. The Meir, probably for the second time ever, closes the Gemara and runs over to the house of Elisha ben Avuya, and he comes in and he says, Rebbe, maybe you should do tshuva now. And Elisha ben Avuya says, can I still do tshuva even now? And the Meir says, of course you can. It's a pasuk we say every single day. Pasuk Tezimra Tehillim, Perek Tzadik, pasuk Gimel. Tashev enosh ad daka, v'toimer shuvu bnei Adam. And the Meir says, you know what this means? Ad daka, Daled Kaf Aleph. Ad dichducha shel nefesh. As long as you have the neshama in you, you can do tshuva. The tshuva will be accepted. And then the Gemara says, Elisha ben Avuya dies. Reb Meir is recorded saying, Ki medu me'ani, I believe that my Rebbe died out of doing tshuva. Amazing. But what happened between yesterday and today? Yesterday has nothing to do with me. It's my father, it's my mother, it's a Kodesh Baruch Hu, it's my aunt's cat, it's this guy, it's this guy. It's nothing to do with me. What do you want from me? I can't do tshuva. Now, suddenly the question was, can I still do tshuva? What happened between yesterday and today? And this is the answer to what I asked before, how come we don't do tshuva? When one feels he has time, so there's a lot of room for all the excuses in the world. Has nothing to do with me. And I'll get to it. Not now. I'm busy. I have a wedding tonight. I have this tomorrow. When there is room for excuses, one is not going to do tshuva. But if one feels the pressure, the heat, he is about to die, there's no more room for excuses. Now it's either yes or no, and then there is no other chance. When Elisha ben Avuya felt, this is it, finished, all the excuses fell by the wayside, and the only question that remains is, can we still do tshuva now? And even though Rosh Hashanah is a month and a week from now, so much time, we have time. We don't. Because we have to feel tonight is the night that we decide we change. Because there is no time. Because tshuva is the greatest gift in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a freebie. I'm willing not only to erase what you did until today, I'm willing, if you do tshuva on the highest level of love, to transform those wrongdoings into good deeds, into pearls, into diamonds, into mitzvahs. So who would be crazy enough to say, well, when I'll get to it, I still have time. No, we don't have time. Because we want to take part in grabbing as many diamonds as we can. So why wait? You know, Rabbi Yisrael Salante once said an amazing thing. Somebody came to him and he said, Rebbe, I don't think I can do tshuva. Me? Rebbe, I went so low, I sunk so low in the ocean of sins that I don't think I can do tshuva. Don't ask this passing years. Don't ask. Rabbi Yisrael Salante, the greatest lover of Klal Yisrael, looked at him and told him, you should know, you are worse than Satan himself. Whoa, Rabbi, what do you mean? Yes, you are worse than Satan himself. So B'Sor Salanta says to him, you know, we blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Why do we blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah? Why do we blow shofar? The Gemara says, Rosh Hashanah daf tezayin amud aleph, we blow shofar to confuse Satan, for whatever reason. I'm not a malach, I don't know why. But he gets confused from this musical instrument called shofar. Why? Because the Satan believes in our koyach to do tshuva, and the tshuva will be accepted. So when he hears the shofar, he says, oh, it worked for them! This is the shofar that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending Mashiach! Aye! So it comes out that Satan believes in your koyach to do tshuva, and you don't believe in the koyach to do tshuva. You are worse than the Satan himself. You know, the Buddha Mipshisra once said, he came into his congregation, Erev Yom Kippur, and he said, you know, they're not going to ask us after we depart from this world, 120, hopefully more, they're not going to ask us why we sinned. Everybody looked at him, really? That's cool. He said, I'll tell you why. Because if they do, we have an answer. What did I sin? Because you gave me a Yetzer Hara! And oh boy, my Yetzer Hara is good. He knows exactly what to do. Relentless. Never took a day off. No personal days, no sick days, no vacation at Acapulco. Never. He's always there 2 hours before me. My Yetzer Hara is amazing. So what are you asking me? Why I sin? And therefore they won't ask us why we sin. Wait. Everybody in the crowd is very happy. You know, an hour before Yom Kippur they hear this great news. But the Buddha Mipshisra continued and he said, they are not going to ask us why we sin, and if they do, we have what to answer. But they will ask us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to look at each and every one of us and ask, Kinderach, you sinned? Fine. You're not a programmed robot. Fine. But why didn't you do tshuva? I gave you this unbelievable gift. You can erase what you did. Why didn't you use it? Will we have what to answer to that? So sometimes we may think, but my Yetzer Hara is really, really good. And I already, I didn't do this and this and that, and I had so many things on the agenda. That's Rosh Hashanah. I wrote down a whole big list, and Chafetz Chaim once said, Amasha, there was a lady, very poor lady. She took a basket of apples to sell in the marketplace. And she stands there, basket right next to her, and she's selling apples. This was back in Russia. Big Russian guy comes over, and he kicks the basket, and all the apples roll in all kinds of directions. So a lot of smart people, seeing beautiful apples right next to them, bend down and pick it up and start walking. And this old lady is standing there, and she starts yelling, "Ribono shel olam, my parnasa! Oh, look what they did to me!" A smart man comes over to her and says, "Listen, Rebbetzin, it's not the time to yell now. It's the time to bend down and pick up those apples that are still rolling. Everybody is taking your apples. You still have enough apples to sell. At least you'll have something for today." And the Chafetz Chaim explains sometimes is daven Shmoneh Esrei, and you really want to have kavanah. This time I'm going to do it. And once you're in the second bracha already, your mind is in the next vacation, or I don't know, with your business or with your client. We know what it is. I'm talking to myself now. I'm talking to you. So the Yetzer Hara did it again. So some apples you lost. You want to lose it all? So grab this next bracha. Grab the apples that are still rolling free. It can be yours. Save the day. It's tefillah. It's the mitzvahs that we want to perform, and the Yetzer Hara comes and tries to take them away from us. You lost something in the past 2 minutes ago. That's history. We're looking at now. We're looking at tomorrow. And we have to grab as much as we can. So how do we do it? We must accept on ourselves small kabbalas, small kabbalas, new resolutions, not big. When one wants to change overnight, huge change, that's actually the advice of the Yetzer Hara. Because Yetzer Hara knows it's impossible. So he really tries to tempt a person to do that. 2-3 weeks later, one says, I failed again. So he gives up, becomes frustrated, and he goes back to exactly where he was before, and most of the time goes even lower. So when we accept in ourselves small little things, but we stick to them at all costs, 2, 3, 4 weeks, it becomes part of our system. And then we add something else, something small. With time, we find ourselves at a much, much higher level. But it can't go like this. It goes like this. That's the only way to sustain the game. You know what it means to take a Kabbalah on yourself and to stick to it at all costs? The Prei Menachem, the Gerer Rebbe, once decided, you know what? I'm taking a Kabbalah on myself. I'm not going to speak after the bedtime Shema. I'm not talking about after the bracha of Hamapi. The bedtime Shema. Very nice, very good. A day after he decided this, his father, the Imre Emes, the great Gerer Rebbe, calls him right after he said the bedtime Shema. Houston, we have a problem. Kibbutz, it's from the Torah, the Raisa. My beautiful Kabbalah is just a Chumrah, which weighs more. What's the Shaila? But a Kabbalah that you take upon yourself, you stick to it no matter what. So what do? So he decided, you know what, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to go to my father. If he asks anything, what can I do? I must respond and I'll answer, but I'm not going to initiate the conversation. And that's what he did. He went to his father. His father asked him something, so he had to respond. But what about my Kabbalah? So you know what he did? He stayed up the whole night. I said I'm not going to say anything after the bedtime Shema. I didn't go to bed. So it comes out it wasn't a bedtime Shema. I just said Shema. I can't say Shema in the middle of the night. I'm allowed to say Shema. Reb Shimshon Pincus once accepted on himself also a beautiful Kabbalah. I will never bench by heart. Always from a sitter, from a bencher. And that's a great Kabbalah to take on yourself because it's also a great segula for Parnasa. Sefer HaChinuch Mitzvah Taf Lamed says, I have a Kabbalah for my Rebbes. I accepted from my rabbis. This is Sefer HaChinuch, 1,000 years ago. One of the Rishonim says, we have a tradition that if one makes sure to always articulate benching, Kavana, he knows what he's saying. He will never lack his sustenance in a dignified way. Why? It's a measure for measure. You say thank you for what you have, you will be showered with more. So he once accepted it himself. I will not bench to say thank you to Ribbon Shalom for the food I ate by heart. Always from a siddur. Great. However, once he went to Hashem Brachos, it wasn't in a shul, it wasn't in somebody's house. There were no benchers. There were no siddurim. Again, the same problem. I accepted on myself a beautiful chumrah. Beautiful. But benching after a meal is an obligation from the Torah. Shneimar, 2 weeks ago, Pasha Tekev. Echalta, should eat. Vesavata, be satiated. Uverachta, you must bench. It's the only blessing that we have from the Torah. The dispute. Or the Birkos HaTorah we say every morning is also from the Torah. But benching is the only one that everybody agrees is a blessing from the Torah. So, blessing from the Torah or my nice chumrah. What do you do? What do you do? Well, I'm not going to bench. But I accepted myself and you must stick to it at all costs. You know what he did? Took out a pen and paper. Don't worry, the Pinkus knows benching by heart. He wrote it down and now he was able to read. Benching from a siddur, the one that he just created. That's what it means when you take something upon yourself, you stick to it at all costs. And then, in fact, you change. You become a new you, an improved you. Closer to Ribbon Shalom. A bunch of years ago, don't know how many, 10, 12 years ago, a fellow who lived in the city of Netanya. Did you ever visit Netanya? Beautiful city on the beach. Passed away. He was religious. His son and daughter, very, very, very not religious. He left $12 million. And he wrote in his will, 10 million for my son, 2 million for my daughter, on one condition. My son must say Kaddish for me for the first year. Every single day, 3 times. If he misses one Kaddish, we split it even. 6 million for my son, 6 million for my daughter. Great. The sister figured this is going to be an easy one. My brother, see him in shul 3 times forget about it. What did she do? She hired a private detective to follow her brother. It's going to be easy. I only need once that he doesn't come to shul, and I get $4 new million because I'm supposed to get 2. If he misses one Kaddish, it's split even, 6 and 6. So instead of 2 million, I'm getting 4. I'm getting 6. Give up. After 3 months, this detective calls and says, "Lady, I think you're wasting your money on me. I would like you to continue with me because I'm getting paid, but your brother is amazing. What do you do?" He says, he comes to shul in the morning, he's the first one to open the door. He stands there like a mourner among Chassanim. He doesn't put on talis, nor does he put on tefillin. But he stands there with a siddur, and he says to the guy next to him, "I have to say this, tell me when." And when it's time to say the mourner Kaddish, the guy says to him, "Now," and he says it. She says, so, and then he goes to work. I follow every move. He comes to Mincha. I'm telling you, he's the first one there. He opens the door. And again, it has nothing to do with the prayer. Chas v'sholom, you should say any words of the siddur. But comes time to say the mourner's Kaddish, the guy next to him says, "Should say it now," and he does. What happens next? So he says to her, right after that, there's a little class that the rabbi gives, 20 minutes. Chas v'sholom, this guy should hear any words of Torah, so he steps out. So how does he know when to come back from Mariv? He says he has an agreement with the rabbi. He asked the rabbi that if he doesn't mind, he should call him in when it's time for Mariv. And the rabbi comes out, and he says, "We're starting now." And again, he stands there, doesn't say a word. Siddur is open, mourner's Kaddish. Yeah. So lady, your brother is amazing. It's 3 months already. He has a chazaka. I don't think you should continue with me. It's okay, thank you very much. What do I do? It's $4 million. This lady found out who the rabbi is. She called him. "Rabbi, my name is, I'm the sister of this new fellow that you have. The guy who stands in the back, says the Kaddish. By the way, you should know. He eats chazir every Shabbos. He drives to your shul. And there's a lot. Do you want me to tell you the list of the things that he does against Ribono Shel Olam?" I said, No. Not interested in here. Why are you calling me? "Well, let me tell you why he joined your synagogue just to say the mourner's Kaddish." our father passed away, he left us $12 million. And she tells him the whole story. So, Rabbi, I want to make you a deal you can't refuse. What's the deal? She says, look, if he misses one Kaddish, I get $4 million in addition to the $2 million that I'm supposed to be getting. Rabbi, let's do this. I understand my brother asked you every single day to come outside and to tell him, you're starting Ma'ariv now. Can you please forget to call him? But only once. Listen, you're not hired by him. You don't have a contract. You don't owe him anything. And he doesn't even believe in the words that he's saying. And in return, you know what I'll do? From those $4 million, I'm going to give Meiser, that's $400,000, to the poor Talmidei Chachamim. I understand you have a lot of them in your shul. Rabbi, what do you say? In business? The rabbi's head started spinning. What do I do? And therefore he sent me to Tinik tonight to ask you, Talmidei Chachamim, what do you do? Abba said, what do you do? Yes or no? You like it or not?
No.
You don't like it. Who said no? Why not? Why not?
Because you're teaching the wrong midos, the wrong everything.
Who am I teaching to? Am I hired by him? Do I work for him?
You work for God.
You have regards from your niece.
Thank you.
My neighbor. Sussman.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe Sussman. Do I work for this guy?
No.
Do I owe him anything?
Work for Hashem.
Really, tell me, what's going to make more noise in Shemaim? The Kaddish coming from a person who doesn't believe a word he's saying and then drives to on Shabbos while eating chazir? Or supporting Talmidei Chachamim, poor ones who are sitting and learning Hashem's Torah? What's going to make more noise in Shemaim and going to cause more of an elevation to the neshama of their father?
Whoops. That's a toughie.
Good. So what's that I said it was so tough. I had to come to Kinnick to ask you. I got stuck with it in Bet Shemesh, so I had to come here. What do you say, my friends? What do you say? You like it or not?
It's not the rabbi's calculation.
So maybe it's yours. So tell me what to do.
A rabbi who's a real legit rabbi who really has Yiras Shamayim says, you know what, the money is secondary. Hashem is going to give me the money one way or another.
Hashem is not supposed to give him the money to the poor Talmid Chacham, and Hashem is sending you the money.
Right, but he's sending it in a dishonest way.
Why is it dishonest?
Because he has.
Do I owe you anything?
Yes, because the Yid is making Kaddish, and he said, I need to say Kaddish. Why he's saying Kaddish is not your calculation.
But there's a new element into the calculation. You know how many people I can feed with those $400,000? Little kids that don't have bread.
Yeah, if you're
So you want to say, suffocate, starve to death. Kaddish is more important. Who says? Kaddish is coming from a person who doesn't believe in the words he's saying.
I once went to a very high-end attorney with a friend, committed a horrible crime. I just did to support the person. The friend made the mistake of telling this attorney, you should know, I gave a lot of tzedakah with the money that I stole.
That's called trying to
That
bribe.
was the end of the conversation. The lawyer said, oh, that's it, have a good day. So I'm saying you can't...
He's trying to bribe Hashem.
Exactly.
Hashem doesn't like taking bribe. But this is not a bribe. We're working for the same service. What's going to cause more nachas to Hashem and to the neshama of the deceased? Kaddish from a person who just wants the money, and as soon as the year is over, he's out of there, never coming back. Or supporting Talmidei Chachamim, who are learning now for the sake of the neshama of the person who died.
The rabbi, the rabbi is hurting his own reputation with Hashem and with the person. He made a deal.
So you don't like it.
I don't like it.
So I have an idea.
Yeah.
So the Talmud Chacham, they're going to be learning anyway, with the support of this $4 million or not. And this guy, maybe at some point, he will be actually inspired to. You don't know. You don't know.
Are you a prophet? I was a prophet 12 years. They didn't like me. They fired me. I don't know why. We're not in the prophecy business. What we have is a person who doesn't believe in anything and does everything to rebel against Hashem. So in halacha, we have a rule called when you have a suffix, uncertainty, and you have a vada, you have something which is clear, no doubt about it. What you have now is a suffix. Maybe one day, the words of the Kaddish that he doesn't believe in, and the environment that he can't stand, is going to influence and he's going to change. And his heart is going to be bestowed with purity from above and he's going to be such a tzaddik. Interesting. Could be. Again, We're not prophets. Suffolk, could be. But what we have for sure is feeding so many families of poor Talmidei Chachamim who are doing Hashem's will. So when you have a suffix, a doubt, in something certain, which should you prefer? We normally go with the Vadai, with that which is not in doubt. But you don't like it. You're now not so sure. Anyone else?
Well, I think that it's always the direction we're going. So even if, and as you said, if he's a good route, he wouldn't take the money, because even feeding those guys, the fact that this guy is showing up, and who knows, between the 4 months to a year, if he might mean
My
something.
boy said we have another prophet in the crowd.
Exactly.
It's everybody in Tinnik is like this. Another prophet?
I would say it's the will of the Father. What the Father wants him to say, "Shh."
You hear this?
What did
Did
you
you hear
say?
this? Ah!
What did you
Keep
say?
it up, man.
I'll tell you what you said.
Wait,
I'll tell you what you
say?
said.
I couldn't hear.
The rabbi didn't know what to do. It's a tough shayla. He didn't have the benefit of having prophets near him.
Yeah.
And therefore he went to Gadol Adom. Reb Steinman, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha. He said to him, Rabbi, what do I do? Reb Steinman told him, keep calling the guy. He says, but Rabbi, he is not into it. He couldn't care less about saying Kaddish. Reb Steinman says to him, keep calling him. You forgot one little thing in the equation, in all these details that you were telling me. You forgot to mention one thing. Whose money is it? It's the Father's money. That's what you're saying. The Father wanted that Kaddish to be said. The Father could have said, support Talmidei Chachamim. It's the Father's money. Who gave you permission to change from the will of the Father? It's His money. The rabbi doesn't give up. He says to him, Rebbe, isn't it a bizayon to Torah? Isn't it a disgrace to Torah? You know, as soon as I open my mouth, after a minute, I give a shir, 20-minute shir, the guy is out the window. He can't stand hearing words of Torah. Isn't it a disgrace to Torah? Rabbi Steinman looked at him and says, excuse me, is your name Mr. Torah? Who are you? Keep calling him. As I'll say in the Midrash, one who takes advice from the elders, from Talmidei Chachamim, from great sages, will never stumble. The rabbi kept calling. After 2 weeks, this fellow goes in one day to the rabbi and he says to him, you know, I really appreciate the fact that you're calling me every day for marriage. Can I ask you a personal question? Sure. Sure, you notice, every single time you open your mouth and you start to share, I'm out. Does it bother you? No, really, not big. Seriously. Does it bother you that I leave as soon as you open your mouth? No? You're not offended? No? How come? The rabbi says, do you know what I do when you leave? Do you know what I do in this year? He says, no, I'm not there. So I'll tell you. I give free diamonds to all those who are present. Somebody who doesn't want a diamond, we're going to shove it down your throat. You're not interested? Fine. Rabbi, what do you mean? I give diamonds to those who attend. So what do you mean? You're so rich? He says to them, I teach them Torah! The Pasuk in Mishnah says, Yekarahim mipninim. Torah is more precious than diamonds and pearls. V'chol chafatzecha lo yushvu ba. There's nothing as valuable as Torah. I give pearls and diamonds and precious stones to anyone who wants to. I'm going to shove it down your throat. Really, Rabbi? You really believe what you're saying? Of course. Well, maybe one day I'll come in. The following day he came in to hear the shir. The second day he came again. The third day. After 2 weeks he became a Shomer Shabbos. 2 months down the road he became a full-fledged Frum Yid. At the end of the year, he got $10 million, but now they are going into the hands of a person who keeps Torah mitzvahs. And he gave Meiser. How much is Meiser from $10 million? A little more than the $400,000 the sister wanted to give. How much is it? $1 million to tzedakah. Because you take advice from the elders. You'll never stumble. That is the koyach of tshuva. There's a very special Rebbitzin in Eretz Yisrael that lectures all over the place. Not only in Israel, also in Chutz La'aretz. I'm not going to tell you who she is, not to embarrass her, but she told me the following ma'aseh. And she travels all over. Very successful, very inspiring. So one day she had a flight to come here to the States to speak. And the flight was at 4 a.m. from Ben Gurion. So she called a cab, and she arranged to be picked up, whatever, 1 a.m., something like that. And she goes to sleep for, whatever, 2 hours before the plane went. The alarm didn't go off. So the driver keeps pressing on the, he honks his horn. 1 o'clock in the middle of that neighborhood. She jumps up and he calls us, "No! Where are you? I'm ready to get ready 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm coming now." Quickly gets dressed, she packs her bags, and she runs down. And she had the two garbage bags, 2 big black garbage bags outside the door. She was thinking she was going to throw it out on the way out. But she was in such a rush, so she took it with her, and she ran downstairs, and she goes to the cab, and she's about to put him in the cab. So she said, "Well, wait a second, I have to cross the street." "Listen, lady, there's no time, it's 1 o'clock. I have to go to sleep, lady. Put your stuff inside, let's go, we have to rush. And she wasn't thinking, she put everything in his trunk, and they drove to the airport. They get to the airport, she totally forgot she has some garbage bags with her. And she's rushing, it's very late already. And she has to run. And she gets to security, metal detector, she puts all her belongings, and suddenly the thing goes up. What is this? Everybody comes. And they open the bag, and she has stinky cans of tuna. And they say to her, "Why are you taking cans of tuna to the States? They have plenty of cans of tuna. They have actually ones which are closed and full." And she felt like a schmuck. Because they made so much fun of her. And they called all the other guys security, look, 2 full bags of stinking stuff. What was she thinking? She felt so humiliated. She went on the plane, still thinking, she felt miserable, terrible. My boy said, if we don't change now, we're going to go to Shemayim. Rosh Hashanah is going to be Judgment Day, and they're going to ask us, "Did you bring smelly, disgusting tuna cans up here on Rosh Hashanah? What were you thinking? Bringing all the garbage with you?" We're going to feel much worse than a shmate. Once she is on the plane, she's never going to see those security guards. Who cares? Chas v'shalom that we're going to be so embarrassed. Eternally. There was a guy dating a girl in Bnei. Everything was going really, really well. They're going out a few times and decided, this is it. Just before they close the shidduch, before they get engaged, the girl says to this future chassan, "I want to share with you something. I want to tell you something." No, sit down. You should know, a few years ago I was in seminary, and I went off the derech, big time. So much so that I lived in the streets for 1.5 years, and I did terrible things. But Baruch Hashem allowed me to do tshuva, and now I'm on a higher place than I ever was before. So I felt, I need to tell you this before engagement. Does that bother you? He says, "Whoa. I don't know if it bothers you or not." She says, "No, really terrible things, but I'm telling you, I'm much higher place now than I ever was before. Real tshuva." So does it bother you? I don't know. I'm going to ask my rabbi if it bothers me. He goes out and he goes to the house of Reb Steinman Zatzal, and he tells him the whole story. He says, "Rebbe, what should I do? Not a good idea to get engaged to her, right?" And Reb Steinman says to him, "Wow, you're so lucky." "I'm so lucky, huh? Why am I so lucky?" "You are so lucky. You're so lucky that this girl's father didn't come to me to ask if she should get married to you, because if he would, I would say, stay away from this kid as far as possible. You sit and learn in yeshiva? You don't know the koyach of tshuva? You don't believe in tshuva? You should know that there's a chashash about your wine that it's yain nesach, just like a goy touching the wine. The goy also doesn't believe in tshuva, so what's the difference between you and him? Wow. Steinman was quiet for 2 minutes, letting it sink in. And then he says to him, listen, if you're listening to me, get out of this apartment and run as fast as you can to her and get engaged right now. She's telling you she's on a higher level than she ever was before. You won the lottery. What's the question? There is nothing like tshuva to change a person. She's a new entity. A better one, a more improved one, closer to Ibn Shalom. What's the question? Next month, we're going to start inserting into the tefillah the Aseres Yemei Tshuva, beginning of Shmoneh Esrei. We're going to start saying, Zochreinu l'chaim, Melech Chafetz b'chaim. Remember us to life. You, king, who desire life. V'chosveinu, please inscribe us. B'sefer HaChaim, the book of life. No, not for me. No, I don't need it. Leman Chai Elokim Chaim. It's for you, Kodesh Baruch Hu. No, sure. You don't need it, man. I couldn't care less, right? What does that mean? For you, for your sake, God? There's many interpretations. But I'm suggesting we're reading it wrong. We're putting the comma one word too late. Let's read this again. Zochreinu l'chaim, remember us to life. Who? Melech chafetz b'chaim, a king who desires life. Vekosveinu, and write us, inscribe us b'sefer hachaim, in the book of life. It's for you, Kodesh Baruch Hu, leman cha Elokim chaim. Wrong way to read this. We're changing one tiny little thing. Zochreinu, but is there a book here? Anyway, I'll take even this one. I know the author, I'm not so impressed, but some of the content is not bad. Zochreinu l'chaim, melech chafetz b'chaim. Remember us to life. Melech chafetz b'chaim, king who desires life. Vekosveinu b'sefer, period. We normally say b'sefer hachaim. Wrong. Vekosveinu b'sefer, write us in a book. Oh, you're asking which book? There are many books up there. Many books up there. Every book has a title. This, for some reason, is called Guidance from Above. Some books have a title, and it says, those who live for themselves. Disgusting human beings. There are books that have a title, those who live for themselves, and for others, middle of the road. There are tzaddikim who get up in the morning, and all they want to do is Hashem's will. They live only for your sake, Hashem. So now let's read it again. Zochreinu l'chaim melech chafetz b'chaim. Remember us to life, king who seeks life. Vekosveinu b'sefer, and write us in a sefer. What sefer? That sefer that has the title Hachaim lemancha Elokim chaim. Those who live for your sake, HaKadosh. We want to live a life which is dedicated 100% to you, Ribono Shel Olam. To be inscribed in a book that says, after we leave this place, their life was dedicated only to me, not to anything else. Not to the nonsense, there's so many nonsense that this world has to offer. And they're so alluring. But we want to be inscribed in the book that says, they lived for me. Hachaim lemancha Elokim chaim. Now, even though I think it's emes, that's not how you should read it when you're davening, because you should follow what the Siddur says is b'sefer hachaim. But the message is true. The message is definitely true. There was a guy who was on the train, long train ride. There's a guy next to him, young guy. And he looked very nervous. Every 2 seconds, looking at the window. Staring at what? Just before they reached every stop, he would just put his nose into the window. This is a long train ride, so normally people read. We try to catch a nap, but this guy couldn't do it. He was so nervous. At one point, this guy was asking him, what are you looking for at the window? You see, you're very nervous. So the guy says, well, if you're already asking, this is the first time I'm on a train in 3.5 years. You know why? I was in jail for 3.5 years. No, I didn't murder or anything like that. I come from a small town. And I took something I shouldn't have taken. I stole something small. The judge was very strict with me and he gave me 3.5 years inside. And this caused such an embarrassment to my father. We live in a small town. Wherever my father went, they pointed to him. His son is a Ganav! Here's the father of the Ganav! Ganav! Such an embarrassment for my father. And more than I felt terrible having to go to jail, I felt terrible for what I did to my father. So just before I was released, I sent my father a letter saying, I'm going to be taking this and this train, this date. And Daddy, I miss you and I really want to see you. I didn't speak to you, I didn't see you in 3 years. But I'm going to understand if you don't want to see me. After what I did to you, the embarrassment, the humiliation that you went through, I'm going to understand if you don't want to see me. So I'm telling you exactly what train I'm taking. And Daddy, if you want to see me, so please, either come to the station or put some kind of a sign, an orange scarf, somewhere, hang it in the train, telling me that you are interested in having a relationship. And if not, I'll understand and I'll just pass our stop and I'll go somewhere else and I'll start a new life. So every time you get close to a stop, he says, but where do you live? He says, no, I'm thinking maybe my father does want to see me, but he doesn't want to see me in our town. It's too embarrassing for him. So maybe he hung that orange scarf somewhere else. So I keep looking when we get to the stop. Maybe somewhere there's an orange scarf. But this guy was very intrigued. So now both of them, every time the train reaches a stop, they're both glued to the window trying to look for some orange something. Nothing. Stop after stop. And then they're getting close and says, the next stop is my town. And he's so nervous. And they get to that stop. He's both looking out the window. This guy was so confused. There was no one orange scarf there. There were dozens and dozens of orange scarves in all shapes and sizes hanging all over the train stop. And his father was there, wearing the biggest orange scarf that he can find, with his arms open. Rabbi said the father is a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that kid on the train is us. Sometimes we feel, maybe Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't want my tshuva. You know what I was involved with last week? And the year before. And the year before. 3.5 years straight. 15 years, 25 years, 45 years. I don't think Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to have a relationship with me. I embarrassed him too much. It may be true. We embarrassed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Avinu Malkeinu, his first Avinu, is our Father, a compassionate and merciful Father. And with that, he is wearing all the orange scarves that one can have. And his arms are open wide. Come, Kindalach, come back to me, come! All I want is to have again a nice, close relationship with you. In the Zohar HaKodesh in Parshas Tumah, Daf Hey Amud Beis, the Zohar HaKodesh says, Ilemale havu yadan b'nei nasha. If people would only know, Rechimuta, the mericham kutshabrichu liYisrael, the love that HaKodesh Baruch Hu has to Klal Yisrael. Avi shayagin kikfirya. We would roar like lions to pursue HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Again, if people would only know the love HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael, we would run after HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we would roar like lion cubs to pursue HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wrote some immense Hashem that we should feel that intense love, much greater than love that we have to our kids is the love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to us. Mitzvah Hashem, we should be zoiche to have the Teshuva on the highest level, Teshuva of Ahava, that transforms wrongdoings to pearls, to diamonds, to mitzvahs. As I'll tell us, after the 15th of Av, after Tu B'Av, we can already wish each other a ksiva v'chasima toiva, to be inscribed, all of us, to a good, healthy, prosperous new year of establishing on a higher level our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This house is a house that only wants to do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. It's a house of Torah. Mitzvah Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should shower this house and the ones who dwell in it with tremendous abundance from Shamayim in both Ruchnius and in Gashmius, and in Mitzvah Hashem soon you're going to be Mevaser Pesuras Torahs. Amen.